Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Sling TV. I am Mike Barner. He is Kirien Sprecher, and we come to you every Wednesday to give you the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. Kirien, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good after that Nikola Vucevic game-winning shot, Mike. How about you?
Should we just do the Bulls Minute now? Let's just do it now before we get into the news and notes. The Chicago Bulls 6-1, barreling towards the top seed in the Eastern Conference. What a fun game that was last night for Bulls fans, right, Kirien?
I have to admit, my fiance is very into Dancing with the Stars. She was a dance
Oh
major
no.
in college. Yes, you already know where this story is going.
Oh
So
no.
I had the game turned on, and after that 45 to 27 point first quarter, I was like, it's okay, honey. Like, the Bulls had their fun to start the season. We can watch Dancing with the Stars. And then, I still had it on, obviously, I'm on my phone checking it every now and again. And then that comeback in the third quarter, and I was like, oh, God, we got some life. And then that fourth quarter, I was tuned in. Dancing with the Stars was on mute. I was jumping up and down, hooting and hollering. I haven't felt this way about the Bulls in a very, very long time. I'm sure you're in the same boat, Mike.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They're all, I mean, the Io DeSumo injury, they got crushed that second game against the Knicks without him. It looked like they were going to get crushed again last night. It's tough to be without him and Kobe White. They can survive without one of them, especially against some of the bottom teams. But to be without both of them and to stage that comeback, it's nice to not hang your head and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a Bulls fan," like you normally have to, like we've done the last several years. So yeah, this is pretty fun. All right, so we've done enough on the Bulls minute. We may talk about the Bulls a little bit more later, but right now let's get into some news and notes, and then later on, Kiri and I are going to discuss real or mirage, meaning are these fantasy basketball starts by certain players sustainable, or is it a mirage in the early going here? So our first big news topic, Kiri, and shocker, Zion Williamson is hurt again. It was reported yesterday he's going to be out 7 to 10 days with a left hamstring strain. We've seen this before. Now, in their first game last night without him, Trey Murphy, 21 points over 37 minutes against the Hornets. Derek Queen played only 18 minutes off the bench, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, currently rostered in 5% of Yahoo leagues. We also got Jeremiah Fears in the fold here. He's rostered in 22% of Yahoo leagues. What are we thinking? A, what are you doing with Zion? And B, who benefits the most, Kieran?
Yeah, so Zion missed a game last week with a foot injury, and the foot still like a concerning issue, but it wasn't the hamstrings, the quads, the
Yeah.
things that have derailed him previously. He came back, struggled a bit in his return after missing that game with the foot, and then he had a couple of solid games. And against the Clippers and the Thunder, two pretty good defensive teams. And then he popped up on the injury report again with this hamstring soreness that quickly turned into a strain. So this is well past yellow flags. Like, this is red light territory. This could very easily turn into a month-long absence for Zion. And even if it is only a week or two, when he comes back, he's going to be limited again. Like you said, we've been through this story before. I think, I don't think I'm going on a limb saying the biggest upside guy here who probably isn't rostered in a lot of leagues. You mentioned Trey Murphy, Jeremiah Fears probably got rostered in some leagues after he got the starting job. Jordan Poole, those guys are all going to see more usage, but Derek Queen is the biggest upside guy here, right? The Pelicans traded their own unprotected pick to select this guy at number 13th overall. I know the Pelicans won this game, so maybe we're burying the lead a little bit here. They won this game against the LaMelo Ball-less Hornets, right? So not that big of a win, but it was their first win, so very noteworthy. But they hadn't had a win coming into yesterday, and so that unprotected pick next year, that could be a top 3 pick. That could be the number 1 overall pick that the Pelicans traded to go get Derek Queen. So, I know the narratives and you can buy into some of them, you can not buy into some of them, but they use so much draft capital to go get Derek Queen that, in my opinion, you almost have to just like throw him into the starting lineup, especially with Zion out, and say, let's see what we have here and go from there, because they could have passed up on the number 1 overall pick to select this guy. They have to play him.
I really wish they would not play Kevon Looney minutes over Derek Queen. But again, I also wish that they wouldn't have traded that first round pick, but the Pelicans do what the Pelicans do. And another franchise that's kind of in flux right now is the Grizzlies with this entire Ja Morant saga. So let's talk about this now. He showed a lack of effort on that Halloween game against the Lakers, was suspended for conduct detrimental to the team, suspended for a game. He came back Tuesday, 18 points, 10 assists against the Pistons. But after the game, the reporters were talking to Ja Morant, and he says he's lost his joy for basketball right now. I mean, how does this end, Kirien? What happens with Ja Morant?
I have no idea. I was listening to the Zach Lowe podcast. He had one of the Memphis beat writers on who was in a tizzy, yelling and screaming about Ja. They posed some potential trades. The Bulls were mentioned, but like,
no,
no,
thank you.
We finally feel good for the first time in however long, and immediately like, let's trade for Ja Morant now. They mentioned the Timberwolves as a potential candidate because of, Conley's getting old and DiVincenzo. But again, another team where it's like, do you really want to throw? I don't know how this ends. I don't see any team giving up real draft capital to go get Ja Morant. And I don't see Ja Morant playing very hard for this new coach who seems to have brought this European mentality of which I like would defend, by the way. I think, letting a superstar on the court who clearly isn't engaged when you have a bench guy that's ready to go and will play super hard, those rotations, like, that's the coach's job is to find out when to use you at your best. So like, I'm not throwing the coach under the bus, but I don't see Ja playing hard for this guy, and I don't see anybody willing to give up any trade assets. So this might just be a back and forth all season long, and it might end in him silent quitting. My only thing here is stash Ty Jerome. Like, Ty Jerome is injured. He's going to have a huge role when he comes back on this team. Jalen Wells, KCP. I think you could maybe start one of them, but you can't start both of them. They have been too bad to start the season. So I think you stay far away from Ja and stash Ty Jerome and see where the chips fall.
I also like Cedric Coward. He's available in
Yes.
66% of Yahoo leagues. He's averaged 15.3 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.8 3-pointers. So again, that's a guy who's out there in a lot of leagues. That's someone you should consider.
Absolutely. Wow. He plays super tough, super good defense. He's a coach's favorite, a coach's dream for sure.
Exactly. Going back to that Hornets Pelicans games, let's talk about LaMelo Ball. You mentioned the LaMelo Ball-less Hornets. Well, they were without him because his ankle is hurt. Again, second straight missed game for him. Now, he's been great this season. He's averaging 23.3 points, almost 8 rebounds, 10 assists, almost 2 steals, over 3 3-pointers. This is the story over and over again with LaMelo Ball. When he's on the floor, top 15, top 20 fantasy basketball player. But he's not on the floor enough. When he comes back, Kirien, hope he plays 2 games in a row and trade him, right? Foot the offers out, see what you can get.
Absolutely. I know if you were listening to RotoWire podcast, you would have gotten Colin Sexton in as many leagues as you could have. You would have gotten Con Knippel in as many leagues as you could have. The LaMelo, Brandon Miller injury history. I was still very high on them when they're on the court. Like, they're great players, but they have not proven to be healthy. This rookie starting lineup of Knippel, Kalkbrenner, and Zion James is really, really, really fun. I don't think they're going to win very many games, but there's going to be a lot of production to be had.
Another superstar we got to talk about, Anthony Edwards, who was originally supposed to miss 2 weeks with his hamstring injury. He practiced Tuesday, and he's now questionable for tonight's game against the Knicks. So he's got him trending back here sooner for his return. Now, I do want to mention, in addition to Edwards coming back, Jaden McDaniels was awesome with him out. He averaged 22.8 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 2 3-pointers over the last 4 games. So Edwards come back. Probably McDaniels takes a big dip, right, Kirien?
Yes. McDaniels never seems to have really reached his offensive peak when he has to share the floor with Ant. He does sometimes. Occasionally he'll pop for those big games, but when Ant's out there, it's Ant's world. And McDaniels, that also, like, it helps McDaniels be a better all-around player, because when he doesn't have to be a lead dog, he plays hard, guards the best opposing player and plays super tough on that end. So yeah, McDaniels is going to take a big dip here. I don't, I saw some people like, oh, Ant's rushing back because the Timberwolves have been so bad in his absence. I mean, they lost to the Wolves or the Nuggets and the Lakers at home. So like, two pretty good teams. And then they beat Charlotte and Brooklyn on the road. So they were 2-2 without Ant. I don't think this is a situation where Ant's like, I got to get back on the court because we're losing too many games. I don't think they would be rushing him. I don't think he would be rushing himself this early in the season if Ant wasn't going to be 100% and playing a full role tonight.
He seems like a quick healer. I mean, you see him go down in games, you're like, ooh, that doesn't look good. And then he's on the sidelines for like 10 minutes, and then he comes right back in. So he might just be one of those guys who's a quick healer. Like you said, they're 4-3. So this is not a situation where they're like, oh no, we're 0-7 or 1-6, and we don't want to fall down the standings anymore. This might just be a situation where the guy is legitimately, he's young and he's a quick healer. And sometimes we're lucky enough to get one of those, right?
Wolverine blood for sure.
That's right. That's right. And another guy who could be coming back tonight, Darius Garland, is listed as questionable against the 76ers. This would be his first game of the season. When he does come back, probably going to be on a minutes restriction. Probably not going to play both halves of back-to-back set for a while. But man, Kirien, it would be great to get Darius Garland back here on November 5th.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just talked about the Timberwolves and Ant, not rushing back. After those back-to-back losses to Boston and Toronto, I think there was a lot of head scratching going on in Cleveland. They had the great regular season, still haven't really figured it out in the postseason with Donovan Mitchell, but they've been great in the regular season. You lose those two games to teams that you really should be beating pretty handily if you're going to be, a tier 1 team. But yeah, Garland is a very, very good player, potential all NBA player when he's at his best. Sam Merrill is also going to be back, or could be back tonight. I don't really know. I think this probably isn't great for Jalen Tyson. Anybody who picked him up, he had been playing really well in a starter's role. Great defense, had some offensive production. And DeAndre Hunter, Mitchell has missed some games including Garland. And Hunter has led the team in scoring sometimes. So I think Tyson and Hunter take a little bit of a dip here. But like you said, Garland isn't going to be playing, 38 minutes tonight. Like there's still going to be some room for some of those other guys to eat.
Completely agree on Hunter, who's averaging 18.4 points per game, and that's despite him shooting 38.4% from the field. So he's scoring on volume. He's going to lose that volume as guys get healthy. So maybe your sell high window for DeAndre Hunter, if you have him, is about ready to close. And unfortunately, we gave you a couple of good injury updates. Well, now we need to go to a bad one. Dylan Harper is going to miss multiple weeks with a strained left calf. He's been very good, averaging 14 points, 4 rebounds, and just under 4 assists in his first 6 games. So for now, we're looking at more Devin Vassell. We're looking at more Julian Champagnie because De'Aaron Fox is still out, and we don't have a timetable for him yet, right, Kirien?
Yep, absolutely. Fox, the Spurs have had quite a few guys that haven't debuted yet this season, but they just keep treating him as day-to-day. We got updates on Kelly Olynyk and Jeremy Sohan yesterday. They're going to be questionable tonight, so they're really close. But yeah, there wasn't a really definitive update about Luke Cornett or De'Aaron Fox, so at least a couple more games probably on that end. Harper was balling out, man. As a guy that has Wemby in a lot of really high stakes leagues, I've been watching the Spurs. I've been watching every minute of the Spurs, to be frank with you. And Harper is very, very poised, very, very skilled for how young he is. I still think he's like the only one that's like fully comfortable throwing a perfect alley-oop to Wemby. Like people still like, you can still complete an alley-oop to Wemby, but it looks so awkward because no one is like, yeah, you really just have to throw that thing to the moon. Harper has made a couple of those passes this year. Just his playing off 2 feet in the zone. He's really good. You said bad update. I think this was actually kind of a positive update because there was some speculation that it might be an Achilles injury after he left. So yeah, obviously he's going to miss a couple of weeks. That's not great news. But I think there was people were concerned that this could have been a little bit worse. So even if he's out for a month, I still think Harper is going to play a very big role. I know a lot of people have been like, oh, he should be getting into the starting lineup. Champagnie, Champagnie is a very solid role player and a very good fifth starter. And Harper, as a lead guy off the bench, like I think you just keep him in that role all his rookie season, and he can be a primary playmaker and a strong fantasy player when he comes back from this injury. But yeah, in the meantime, I like Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson kind of, he had, 20 point per game scorer a few years ago in his career when the Spurs were very, very bad, and his production has kind of dropped as the Spurs have gotten good, right? Which is never a good, you play less and you produce less and your team does better. That's not a good trend. But I think he has a winning mentality, and he is an energy bolt off of the bench. So without Harper, they're probably going to lean on Keldon as that lead bench guy, and he could have some solid outings in the near future.
We were so excited to lead the show with the Bulls Minute for the 6-1 Chicago Bulls. An underlined storyline from that game last night is that Jared McCain made his return for the 76ers. He played 15 minutes, 0 for 4 from the field, 0 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists. But the 76ers get a healthy player back in their rotation here. What does this mean? I mean, McCain, we're probably not rostering right now. Doesn't have a clear path to a lot of minutes. I'm worried about Quentin Grimes. What about you, Kirien? Is there anything you're worried about with his return, with McCain's return?
So yeah, I mean, obviously a little bit of concern, but that didn't happen last night. McCain played the fewest minutes of any 76er that saw the court. So he was the 9th man in the rotation. Maxey, Edgecombe, Grimes all played over 30 minutes, I believe. Maxey was fantastic. Edgecombe kind of struggled with his efficiency, but he's going to have a very long leash. And Grimes is playing well too. So I wouldn't hit the panic button until we actually start to see McCain play well. I know rookie of the year, early season rookie of the year candidate last year before he got hurt. But right now there's no way we can trust McCain in fantasy. And until he's playing 15, 20 minutes consistently, I don't think that's going to really impact Grimes as, a leading candidate for 6th man of the year at this point.
I have an article coming out today about some trade tips and stuff, and I am selling high on Quentin Grimes. Now he's averaging 32 minutes per game for the season. He played 30 last night, so a couple minutes fewer. He scored 10 points. I believe he only took 11 shots. A lot of that because Maxey was cooking, so that you got to take that into consideration. But if McCain goes from 15 to 20 minutes a night, I could see Grimes playing between 28 and 30 instead of between 30 and 33. I could see his usage rate dipping a little bit because McCain's basically only out there to shoot. It's not like he's passing or doing a whole lot of other things. So I don't think Grimes is going to be bad, but I think his value right now is at its peak. Yes. And I think that's a good time to try and trade him.
Yes, totally agree with that.
All right, before we get on to our fun Real or Mirage segment here that we've got cooked up for the show today, here's a word from our friends at Dabble. Dabble isn't just another DFS app. It's the ultimate social platform where you can connect with other fantasy sports lovers. Dabbles lets you win big. You can win up to 5,000 times your money this basketball season. Starting with Dabble is easy. New users get $25 free when signing up. No deposit necessary. Check out the link in the episode description below to download Dabble now. All right, Kirien, you may be a little parched. You haven't had water in a while. You're crawling across the Sahara Desert. You look off into the distance and you see a beautiful lake of crystal clear water. Is it real or is it a mirage? Well, that's kind of what we're going to talk about here with these starts for players in the NBA, whether good or bad. Is it real? Can they continue to do this throughout the rest of the season? Or is it a mirage? Is it not going to happen? It's going to end quickly and go in the opposite direction. So first, Kirien, let's start with players who are good. And let's go back to Bulls Minute number 2, or maybe 3 or 4 at this point. Nikola Vucevic, Mr. Game Winner three-pointer last night, is averaging 19.3 points, 12 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 2.1 three-pointers, shooting 58.4% from the field, 48.4% from behind the arc. Now, that efficiency probably won't continue, and Kobe White could be back in a couple of weeks. But is this real or mirage for Nikola Vucevic?
I think the season-long production is going to stay very, very steady. So I'm going to say real here. Like you said, the efficiency is probably going to drop a little bit. He's never had those marked for an entire season. He's made multiple three-pointers per game only once for an entire season, and he's currently at that threshold too. So I think, he's peaking a little bit, but there's no like sudden crash down to earth. As long as Vucevic is on the court, he is going to be a steady producer. That has happened his entire career. If you look at his numbers, yes, this year, because of the efficiency spikes, he's a little bit higher in most of the important categories compared to previous years. But this dude hasn't averaged fewer than 15 points per game since his third year in the NBA. Like, this dude is as steady as they come. He's hitting a little bit of a heater right now, but there's no, he's not a hot and cold type of guy. He's even when he comes back down to earth, he's going to be a consistent, 15, 18 points, 10 rebounds, a couple of assists, hit a 3-pointer every now and again. Definitely riding with Vooch at this point.
Vucevic has averaged at least 17.6 points and 10.1 rebounds in every one of his full seasons with the Bulls. That says it all. Real. No mirage. Real. Dip your toes. The water's there. Dip your toes in. All right, now, Jrue Holiday of the Portland Trailblazers is averaging 16.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, 8.3 assists, 1.4 steals, and 2.1 3-pointers. Big differences. 2, he's playing more, 33 minutes per game this season compared to 31 last season. And 3, the biggest one issue here, his usage rate last season, 15.8%. This season, 21%. So real or mirage with Jrue Holiday?
I'm buying Jrue Holiday. I am even without Chauncey Billups, this Trailblazers team has an identity that is playing tough defense and finding offense when they can, whether that's Avdija, Sharp, Holiday, Kamara hitting some threes. They play tough defense, play in maybe the best defense in the league with Kamara and Holiday out there and clinging, protecting the paint. And then they just got to find their offense. This is like the perfect fit for Jrue, right? That's how he's always wanted to play. This might be a stretch, but I firmly believe that Jrue Holiday is a Hall of Fame level player, multiple-time NBA champion, multiple-time gold medalist. Everywhere he goes, the team plays better, is better. I was hesitant going into the season because of Scoot and because I didn't fully buy into the Trailblazers. But now that I'm watching the Trailblazers and watching this happen, I don't see Holiday's value dropping this season unless he's hurt or unless Portland loses, 12 games in a row and they just go full on rebuild, which won't happen for a while given the way that they're playing.
Yeah, I agree. This is real for me. The usage rate is big. He's a very important part of this young team. He's the perfect addition for what they're trying to do, trying to be respectable. I mean, like you said, Scoot has the upside through the moon, but he just can't stay healthy. And when he's on the court, he's not efficient. He just hasn't been able to get that team going. And Holiday is the perfect fit. Real. His role is consistent. It's not going to change. Really, the only thing you have to worry about is, can he hold up? Can he hold up with more minutes and a higher usage rate? I think he can. So real 100%. Now, the last one of these good reels, Kirien, I put this in. Kirien was just a season too early, maybe. Keyonte George is averaging 23.1 points, 3.7 rebounds, 8.1 assists, and 1.6 3-pointers. His 3-point attempts are down, which has helped him shoot 43.7% from the field. He's averaging 35 minutes a game. Now, my guy, we can't just say this Kirien was a year too early on Keyonte George. My guy, Isaiah Collier, comes back from injury, doesn't even play. They don't even put him on the floor. Is he anchored to the bench? It's possible. So what do we think here? Is this real or mirage with Keyonte George, Kirien?
I had to take a second there and clear the tickle out of my throat, take a deep breath, stretch out the neck here, because here comes my Keyonte George spiel. If you've been following for the past 2 years, Keyonte George was on every one of my must draft, flyer picks, breakout player candidate. He was everything for me last year. He balled out in summer league. They made him play summer league after a disappointing rookie season, and he dropped like 70 in 2 games. And it got shut down from that. Coming into the season, I'm like, he's ready to dominate this Utah team. They just need an alpha to come in here. And then halfway through the season, Isaiah Collier is the starting point guard. And I took that as real. I should have known that the Jazz were just not trying to win, and that's why they had George on the bench. going into this year, I had fully given up on Keyonte George. I was like, he can't even play on a team that's tanking as a young guy, can't even get that opportunity. Could not have been more wrong. And the thing you said, he's not shooting as many threes. He's still making some threes. His assists are through the roof. I kept making the joke that Collier was getting playing time because he makes other players better, and George just makes himself look better. But George has been fantastic distributing the ball. But the biggest thing here, Mike, is his free throws, dude. Every game, he's like 9 for 10, to 11 for 12, 8 for 9 from the free throw line. That's Devin Booker. That's Steph Curry. That's Cade Cunningham. That's first round, early second round fantasy value that he's delivering when he obviously, the steals and the defensive production. Sometimes the efficiency isn't there, but that free throw, getting to the line that much, making that many free throws, scoring as much as he's doing, distributing as much as he's doing. Keyonte George is fully breaking out right now. I'm back on the hype train. It's a lot of fun to watch. I've always been high on Will Hardy as a coach, which is kind of why I was like, yeah, if he's not playing George, there's a reason he's not playing George. And that reason may have just been Danny Ainge on his shoulder saying, we can't win this year. And they made that decision and then get Ace Bailey in the draft, who they also aren't playing. So it's still a lot of question marks in Utah. But Keyonte George, this is real. You probably got him for dirt cheap anyways, so that there's no reason not to just ride this wave while you can.
I have to say Mirage, simply because I don't think he can keep doing this. I think one of the biggest problems is down the road, does he get rested?
Yeah.
Because he's playing too well. So for me, I think it's real for now, but I think it's Mirage if you're doing the look of the whole season. So I'd maybe give it a couple more weeks of these awesome. And then as you're getting ready to, welcome Uncle Bob and Aunt Janet over for Thanksgiving, start sending out those trade offers and see if you can sell high on it. Because I think towards the end of the season, we could end up seeing Isaiah Collier again, as the Jazz are, 5-20,
or Walter Clayton,
to lose more games. Yeah, or Walter Clayton, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's probably the right answer here. But after I had given up on him, after being so high on him, I had to give him his chance. Because he's got a soft spot in my heart, even though it's fantasy is so fickle, right? Because last night, Ricochet. I have Ricochet in a lot of leagues. He hasn't been playing well. I was like, should I bench him this week? So I benched him, and then he goes off, but he's on my bench, so I'm cheering against him, even though I invested heavily in this guy. It's a similar situation with George, where at one point I invested so much into him, so I got to give him a shout outs, and hopefully this can continue for him, because it's fun to watch when he's playing well.
Before we flip to the other side of the coin and talk about some guys who are off to slow starts, let's hear a word from our friends at Sling TV. Tired of paying for live TV you don't watch? With Sling, you can get all the live sports, news, and entertainment you want, only when you want it. Get your hands on a Sling day, week, or weekend pass starting at just $4.99. Get over 30 of your favorite channels for the best price and stop overpaying for full-time live TV plans. Sling has a pass for any occasion. Big game tonight? Grab a day pass for just $4.99. Want a full week of live TV for one low price? Get a 7-day week pass. And for all of those weekend watchers out there, you can enjoy live sports, news, and entertainment from Friday morning to Sunday night with a weekend pass. Only Sling lets you watch when you want, so you only pay for what you want to watch. Get live TV for the day, week, or weekend, your choice, all for a great price. Watch live TV on your terms starting at just $4.99. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com/deals today and tell them RotoWire sent you. All right, Kirien, now we got to talk about some guys who are off to slow starts. And we're going to start off with Desmond Bane, who volleyballed his way out of last night's game against the Hawks. He's averaging 13.9 points, 3.9 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 0.4 steals, 1.3 three-pointers. The guy is shooting 28.6% from three. You can see why maybe he got himself frustrated and tossed from last night's game against the Hawks. Is this real or mirage for the slow start for Desmond Bane?
Yeah, and going back to the Ricochet thing, Bane committed 2 early fouls on Ricochet that were and ones that he didn't even look like he was trying to really compete or trying to foul. He's just trying to get out of the way. Got called for 2 early fouls. Hasn't been hitting his shot. Then he, like you said, volleyballs his way out of the game, says, I'm out of here. Yeah, I don't know if it's just the curse in Orlando or what, but KCP was a career, excellent career 3-point shooter, and he went there and could not find his shooting stroke. I have to say fake here because Desmond Bane in his career, these are his shooting percentages from deep. 43, 43, 41, 38, 39, 28 this year. I got to expect that to change as he gets more comfortable with Franz and Paolo. And the other thing is that defensive production. He's averaged at least 1 steal per game in each of his last 4 seasons, and he's only at 0.5 this season, like you said. So I think this Orlando team is a good defensive team, so that should pick up. I think his 3-point shot should pick up. I have to say fake here, but the early signs are that he does not fit very well with this team, even though everybody who has an audience said that he was going to be the perfect fit for this team. So I got to say fake and stick to my guns on this one.
You said it all perfectly. I also say Mirage simply because it's probably a case of a guy trying to get adjusted to his new surroundings. And as he gets adjusted, things will improve. So I think better days are ahead for Desmond Bane. Don't panic. But another veteran here, CJ McCollum. Oh, 12.9 points, 3.3 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 2.3 3-pointers per game, only playing 29 minutes a game with the Wizards getting blown out. Here is a very concerning stat. He has a 26.2% usage rate for his career. This season, 20.7%. Kirien, real or Mirage? Slow start, CJ McCollum.
I think the blowout thing. That's the biggest thing here is that if the Wizards play tough on a Tuesday night in Brooklyn, he's gonna play 30 minutes and have 18 points, a couple assists, maybe a steal. But the potential for blowouts on any given night means that they're going to let, Trey Johnson, Corey Kispert, Will Riley, AJ Johnson. It's just the list goes on and on of the young guys that the Wizards have that they could be playing over McCollum and Middleton, which is why we were all scratching our heads about why McCollum and Middleton were on this team. But yeah, so I think, like you said, the blowouts is the biggest factor here, and, be aware of that when you're setting your lineups.
I think this slow start is real. I think there's going to be a lot of lopsided scores coming in the future. I think that McCollum is not an important part of this team's future, so they don't care about how many minutes. I think the only thing that saves CJ McCollum this season is if he gets traded. So right now, you can't drop him, but I'm not starting him because I think there's going to be a lot of 7 points, 25 minutes games because of the team that he's on. Absolutely. So for our last guys, let's go to Boston, to Beantown. Anfernee Simons averaging 13.9 points, 1.5 assists. He does know he can pass the ball. 1.5 assists, 2.6 3-pointers, coming off the bench, playing just 27 minutes a game. Is this real or Mirage for Simons?
I want to say fake so badly. I want to say it's a Mirage, but I think this is real.
Yes.
I think we talked about, he talked all offseason about, I'm buying into this defensive mentality and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to be a lead player. No, he is the scoring option off the bench, and he's good at scoring. That's his best trait. And that's what Mazzulla is going to have him do on this team. But the rest of the production just isn't going to be there. And if he's not, doesn't have a primary playmaking role, he's not going to be the fantasy player we thought he was going to be in Boston with this less than talented depth team, right? Like they still got Jaylen Brown, they still got Derek White, but the rest of the talent is a lot of C's and B minuses. And I thought Simons was the best offensive player, at least behind White and Jaylen Brown heading into this season. But it's clearly that Mazzulla just thinks he's a scorer and not quite a lead playmaker, which is going to hurt his value.
Yeah, I definitely think this is real. The only way I'm playing him in fantasy right now is if you're desperate for 3-pointers, because he's not going to give you anything else. All right, so we're going to take some questions from the chat here. But before we do that, a word from our friends at Chalkboard. Cash in on your NBA picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players receive a free pick and 100% deposit match. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold, hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to $40,000 on a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines and get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports, now available in 30-plus states. Download Chalkboard today and use promo code ROTONBA, that's ROTONBA, to receive a free pick and 100% deposit match. All right, now, Kirien, before we get to the what with that stat lines of the week, so you can tell your boss, everybody, I can't go to the meeting. I can't go. I don't care what the profit chart looks like. The what was that stat lines of the week are coming up. But before we do that, Kirien, let's answer a couple questions from the chat.
All right, there's a lot, so sorry if we're going to miss you. Hopefully we can get
We're
through
going to do rapid fire here, Kirien. Rapid fire.
John Doe says Mark Williams, Donovan Clingan.
Mark Williams.
I'm on Mark Williams train too. He looks pretty good in Phoenix. Dyson Daniels and Clingan for Avida or OG, or is this too much? I think this is way too much. I'm sticking with Dyson Daniels. What say you?
Completely agree, especially no for OG. No way. Avi is a little bit more of a thought, but I like the Daniels Clingan side.
Yeah, and with Trey out, Daniels is going to have more playmaking roles. He has 3 straight games with at least 18 points. The steals are always going to be there. Ride with Daniels. Morning, guys. Traded Matas for Derek White. Thoughts? We hate to see Matas leave.
What is this, Anthony? What is this? He can't trade Puzelik though. I mean, it's a good trade. Yes. I think it's a good trade. Yeah,
absolutely. This is this is why you sell high and buy low, right? Derek White's not having a great season, but we know what he can do. Is Reed Shepherd a hold? Alan, this is a great question. You're probably going to be asking this all season long. I firmly believe that the Rockets need to just play Reed Shepherd 30-plus minutes because they are going to need a point guard in the playoffs. And if they don't play him these minutes now, he's not going to be ready for those playoff minutes. I want to say that this is a hold, but the trends are not great. He's not going to be playing 25-plus minutes anytime soon. Is that fair, Mike?
There's too many hurt guys right now. If you need roster spots, and I'm dropping him. He's not doing enough.
Agreed. 9-cat 12 teams. So yeah, there's plenty of guys out there that can be playing. Honest thoughts on this year's Sixers. Is Paul George Embiid worth the risk? Johnny, welcome to the show. Clearly first time listener. Appreciate you chiming in.
Either that or Johnny's trying to get us fired up. No, Johnny, don't do it. Don't you want me to yell? No, stay away from him.
Don't ruin my Wednesday morning.
That's right. The Bulls are 6-1, Johnny. We're not talking about Paul George and Joel Embiid. No. Next one.
Hector Pirtle was dropped in my league. Should I drop my worst player for him, Simons or Poole? I think I would rather have Pirtle over Simons. Poole right now, I probably have a lot higher over Simons just because of the Zion injury. Poole's going to have some usage even if he comes off the bench.
Agreed. Drop Simons.
Would you guys trade Curry and Denny for Hero, OG, and Mark Williams points league games cap? Oh, wow. That is a lot. I'm going to say no, just because we don't know what's happening with Hero right now. OG is very solid, and Mark Williams is kind of a wild card, but Curry and Denny are super solid, and there's just too many question marks with those 3 players.
Completely agree. Too much risk with Hero right now.
All right. Season, should I panic about CJ McCollum, Santi Aldama, and Tobias Harris? Yes, panic about CJ McCollum. Santi Aldama, if you went high on him because you thought he was going to get an increased role with all of the front court injuries, yeah, you're probably panicking a little bit, but he's doing what he's been doing in previous seasons. So he's not like going to be out of the rotation or not playing. He's still going to be productive, but just not as productive as we thought with all of the injuries. And I think Tobias Harris is, never a super high upside guy. So if you're looking for high upside, yeah, you can move on from Tobias Harris, but Harris should be a pretty solid part of a good Pistons team all season long.
Co-sign all that. I would say McCollum, we're very worried. We talked about Harris, no ceiling, but a relatively high floor. Aldama, I'm holding on to right now.
Cool. All right. Don says, Josh Hart or Khalil Ware, 9-cat 12 teams. I have the number 1 waiver pick. I think you got to just go Josh Hart because of, precedent, but Khalil Ware's moving to the bench, but then he moved to the bench and got really hot. I'm not really sure what to make of Ware, so I think Hart is just a safer option here.
We've seen the crazy upside Hart can give you, so I would take Hart there. You're going to need an injury to Bam for Ware to really pop, but I think there's enough guys that could get hurt on the Knicks that would help Hart a lot, not just one guy. like on the Heat.
All right. Yes, sir. All right, Daniel, we talked about Derek Queen a little bit. I think Derek Queen is a stash in New Orleans, given the Zion injury. He's the highest upside guy that's not rostered in a bunch of leagues. It is only a 12-team league, though. So that is a little harder. I'm sure there's
10
probably,
team.
10
Yeah,
teams.
10 team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's probably
I
better
don't
options.
know if I'm stashing. Yeah, I'm not stashing him in a 10-team league. 12
Yeah.
and deeper, yes. 10-team, no.
He also says he has LaRavia on that team. So maybe it's like a super deep roster 12-team
Yeah,
league.
maybe.
But yeah, I think I'm taking LaRavia over Queen at this point. That's a good question,
Yeah.
though.
Because Luka's going to get a lot of rest days, I think.
Yeah,
So
and
I think you're
LeBron's
gonna
not
wanna
coming
have
back
LaRavia.
anytime soon.
No.
Yeah. All right, one more question here. Dan's story: Quentin Grimes or Nickeil Alexander rest this season? Now this is juicy. These are the kind of questions I like. I think Quentin Grimes could just be the sixth man of the year. I think if the Philly is good, they're not going to change that up. He's been playing really well in that role, but I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker has a higher upside if this Trae Young injury ends up being, 2 months instead of 1 month. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would also stick with Alexander Walker. Like I said earlier, I'm down on Grimes. Maybe I'm the only guy who's on this boat, but I think this McCain coming back is going to cut into his minutes a little bit and definitely his usage rate. We've seen what he can do when there's nobody around him. And then, we joke about Paul George, but what if he comes back in 2 or 3 weeks? That's another body that is going to complicate things.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think Nickeil is the right answer here. All right, thank you for all the questions.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. A lot of questions this week. Sorry we didn't get to all of them, but we'll come back next week and answer more. And now it's time, Kirien, for the best segment in all of the podcasting universe. The What Was That Stat Lines of the week. Kirien, you are up first.
All right, so this is the negative. What was that stat line of the week? I don't like to do these, but sometimes they're the ones that just pop out at you, and you got to do it. Ben Shepherd shot 35% from the 3-point line last year. Very good 3-point shooter. Kind of his, that's his role is to shoot threes. So start the season, the Pacers have just been absolutely banged up. I don't need to mention every name, but maybe I should. Andrew Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, Quentin Jackson, Obi Toppin, Tyrese Halliburton, TJ McConnell, Cam Jones, Johnny Furpey. Ben Shepherd should be playing 35 plus minutes. He should be starting. He should be getting all these shots. This is his time. Ben Shepherd to start the season. 4 for 25 from deep. That could not seize the opportunity. It sucks for the young man. I'm sure he's going to get plenty of more opportunities because a lot of those guys, the names that I just listed off on the injury report, aren't going to be back anytime soon. Ben Shepherd needs to get that shot going. 4 for 25. What was that, man? Ben Shepherd, he'll be better, but he's kind of lost his spot in the rotation. Quentin Jackson is starting. Ray J. Dennis it has been playing well. Given all of the injuries, Shepherd should get more opportunities, but he kind of didn't seize that opportunity early and is kind of falling into the background now.
It's time for me to fall on the sword for one here. What was that stat line of the week? Jalen Wells Monday against the Pistons. He had 4 points over 21 minutes. He was 2 for 14 from the field. 0 for 7 for 3. Jalen Wells. What was that? He's shooting 31.8% from the field this season. 22% from 3. That's this guy's job. It's to shoot 3-pointers, and he's shooting 22% from behind the arc. He's only averaging 9.3 points per game, giving you virtually nothing in assists or defensive stats. Now, I don't think he's going to shoot 22% from 3 for the rest of the season. I was high on him coming into the season. I'm out. I can't take it anymore. Drop him. Jalen Wells, 2 for 14. He took 14 shots in 21 minutes, and he only made 2 of them. Put him on a bench. Jalen Wells, what was that? Wake up.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. I don't think you could start Jalen Wells and KCP at this point. But I like you said, you're high on Jalen Wells. He was free in basically every league. And I was willing to take a flyer on him too, a rookie that, started 74 games and 42% from the field last year, 35% from deep, 82%. I think there'll be, hopefully that'll round out into shape, but it's been a rough start for Jalen Wells in year 2 for sure.
Maybe he's also lost his joy. for the game of basketball. And with that,
someone should definitely ask him that.
Let's ask him.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Sling TV. Remember, you can use promo code YouTube15 at rotowire.com to get 15% off any subscription. We're going to come back next week with more of the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. And until then, may your fantasy team stay healthy. Please, mercifully. Too many injuries. Please stay healthy, everybody.
It's only week